going to call the meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order, and we want to welcome those of you who are here. If you didn't get an agenda when you came in, they're right outside the door. And our first item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Approved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. The first item of new business is a request of Samuel Gorachowski. I apologize if I'm butchering that name. If you would come forward, please, and state your name, your address, and the nature of your request.
All right. My name is Sam Gorachowski. Our address is 1370 Rivermont, the house that we're working on. And we are requesting to lime wash it white. We had previously applied to take down a deck and patch some brickwork and paint it white, which was denied. So we are looking into lime washing, which I don't know is everybody familiar? Do we want any sort of information on that? Anybody there? Yeah, I mean it's just it's a very historic treatment of brick, which is made from natural lime mixed with water, and it just kind of whitewashes the brick face. It's both protective of the brick and has a lot of anti-mold, antifungal, very historically dated. I mean, they used it in Egypt, pretty much everywhere around the world. And pretty much we just wanted to update the exterior of the brick. It was a little dated. We did a lot of patchwork where we took out doors and infilled, so there's some pretty noticeable lines where we couldn't get the mortars to match. So really we just want to kind of something that's going to really help it to look uniform and not like it was, not make all the patchwork as noticeable. We also had a buyer who was interested in the house who really was interested in, it liked the lime wash aesthetic of the brick. So I did submit some photos with it, I believe, so you can kind of just get a look of what that feels like. Yeah, it's very, very common throughout Europe. It's a very old world technique of treating the brick. Yeah.
Okay. Are there questions?
I guess my question, I was puzzled. I live on Rivermont, so I drove by on the way here and couldn't help but notice that it looks like to some extent it's already taken place.
Well, we had a miscommunication with the painters, and then we told them pressure wash it, take it off. They started to do that. They never finished. So they were going to commence once this happened, and if not, it can just be pressure washed off. It is a treatment that happens in increments kind of every 5 years. If you recoat it, it increases the level of protection. So that can be taken off, and there was a miscommunication with our project manager. I told him, we have to go through the meeting. We have to get approval. Some miscommunication with the painting crew. It was on a schedule. And so we told them to stop, which is why only the front's been done. And then they were supposed to pressure wash it to take it off again. It's a very, the mix is just lime, which we buy at like an agricultural store, mixed with water. So, I mean, those are the only two ingredients. And so it wasn't a big pain for us to take it off. And if it needs to come off, we'll take it off completely. But we just wanted to still advocate for it.
Sure. This is a new product to me, so I'm curious, will rain also make it fade, or?
It does chemically bond with the brick over time. It does have about 5 to 7 years of where it maintains its original kind of go on, and then you would probably notice it if you saw it where it starts to come off, but it does so pretty uniformly, and it's just a recoating process. It's not, I guess, like paint where it would chip. If it did, it would start to fade more so than become splotchy like a brick or like a paint would. And it is It's not a coating, it chemically bonds with the brick pretty much. Yeah.
Eve, would this fall into basically the painting category?
If you look at the product description, it does say that it's a little different than paint, as in it doesn't seal the brick, so it allows it to still breathe. So it's a little different, and our guidelines unfortunately are not specific when it comes to lime washing. I don't know that we've had many applications in the past. So.
But it does pretty drastically change the color.
The appearance for sure, yes. I mean, it will, and do you guys have access to those pictures that I submitted with it? Sure. Yeah, they were, so those are pretty much like right when it goes on, and you can do different levels of it, and depending on how many coats you do, is the more white it gets. And you only have one real tone you can get. You can just get different shades of white, but you can see some of those there are very, very light, and others can almost look like you painted it white, but it's still not. It's not paint. It is lime that's just pulled from the ground, mixed with water, and applied to the surface of the brick.
Is what you have on the front now the level you're planning to do it all around if it's approved, or?
That's a good question. We would actually probably still pressure wash and start completely over, because I want it to be uniform. If we did it, the whole point of it is to look uniform, and they really need to make one big batch and do the whole thing at a time, so there's not a start and a stopping marks on it. So that's actually probably a little where it is now. So it started very white. They did a round of pressure wash over it. I think it looks a little bit too sloppy right now. So they would have to at least go over it again, take it off, and recoat it. It would probably be lighter than it was originally. So it's going to be somewhere, like you're still going to notice that it's brick. A bunch of those reds are going to come through. It's just not going to, it's going to be very soft, like a soft chalky type finish. Yeah.
You didn't,
Go back to the manual, the guidelines.
one of the notes or the bullets in the guidelines, it says that painting shouldn't be done, but does say unless the exterior is extremely mismatched from earlier repairs or patching. You didn't, I didn't see any anyways, you didn't submit any pictures of the, I guess, the after patchwork?
Right.
after the decks
It
were
actually just got
taken
completed
down?
last week, so we
Okay.
weren't able to. But that deck on the side just came down yesterday.
Okay.
So that, it was actually really hard to tell without the deck on there still. But that's the main portion of patching. There's also, in the back, there was an addition. I'm not sure of the year of the addition, but it's a different brickwork than the original house as well. And the original house is also, I don't know if you guys remembered, but it's not an original facade on there. That brick was, I believe, facaded in the 30s, mid-30s. So about 4 years after the house was built.
For me, the guidelines are pretty clear that original materials should remain original materials, shouldn't be painted. I think we had a big hoo-ha over a house being painted a number of years ago, and it talks about don't stucco over existing materials. So I think in terms of the guidelines, it doesn't fall into what we would see as typically being approved. I mean, we would not approve a brick house to be painted, even if it were lightly painted. And I think this falls into the lightly painted category. I mean,
Is that an appearance?
it's just that,
made-
you know, the guidelines want the houses that are brick to start with to remain brick.
Right.
And not, you know, okay, I want to make it more red, or I want to make it white.
Sure.
You know, I think that the intent of the guidelines is to maintain the existing integrity and not modernize or bring it into the, you know, the 21st century. It's more looking to maintain the district as it was originally built. And I think this is going to pretty drastically change the image of the house.
Sure.
to go from a red brick house to, what is in essence going to be a white. Even if the lime wash is thin, it's still going to be a white house. And for me, that's a pretty drastic change that doesn't seem to follow the wording of the guidelines.
Do you think with the patching and repair element would?
Well, I think those are lesser elevations. It's not like the front has been drastically changed over time that we're trying to, I could see a large wall that had been changed 10 times over a long period of time. And I've certainly seen on historic projects, even painting to get more of a continuity in terms of color across a facade, because you've got just a dozen different patchwork, quilt work things. But the elevation of the house doesn't seem to be in that condition that's facing Rivermont.
Any other thoughts, comments? Mike?
I'm rereading. Maybe I had a different takeaway when reading that, and I'm not an expert. My takeaway was they didn't want it painted because it does seal the brick and can trap moisture and over time damage it. I could be wrong. My understanding of this product, though, it would still allow it to breathe, though drastically changing the appearance for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an interpretation of that, Eve, but it would seem like that. I always understood that painting was the changing of the image of the facility, not just the breathability.
Sure.
Well, in the guidelines under brickwork and masonry, it does say painting or sealing brick exteriors should be avoided in that old brick walls were designed to breathe and let moisture pass in and out. Such coating applications can result in moisture being captured within the walls and accelerating deterioration of the wall, particularly the mortar. So I don't know if, as Commissioner Urguiagua said, the concern is the capturing of the moisture instead of so much the appearance in terms of painting the brick.
Yeah, and from that standpoint, I would encourage you, do not allow them to pressure wash your house.
Oh, okay.
It
Just traps all that moisture.
It
back in.
drives the moisture in,
Gotcha.
and it'll never dry out.
Yeah.
You could
Luckily, we do have there's a pretty substantial cavity and it is clapboard siding behind the facade, brick facade.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I understand. Yeah, the
Yeah,
moisture
it's-
dries pretty hard.
You can wash, but you'd basically want to use a garden hose
Okay.
and a brush, not the guy with the.
Gotcha.
I think usually it talks about 100 psi less than.
Okay.
But that's a biggie. But yeah, certainly the lime wash it will allow the brick to continue to breathe as it's supposed to, in my understanding, Michael, as well.
Yeah. Actually adds a layer of protection as well. It's like I was saying, it's very much, brick has a tendency to retain moisture and grow mold where it doesn't get sun. So that's one thing that would also, there's a lot of that house that doesn't get direct sunlight that has accumulated. I don't know if remember it was covered in vines, so it was covered in a lot of mold. So that's another one of those things that we're trying to kind of lessen the visual effect of, is that there's just so much of the former scars of the vining on the house that is impossible. I mean, we've scraped it with everything we've got and wire brushed it, and there's just a lot of scars from its past that are very unsightly. And we do kind of want to sell it as a new product on Rivermont, and really just think that giving it the new clean look will attract that buyer, good for the neighborhood.
You're good.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I don't have any issues with it. Again, recognizing it's going to change the appearance, I didn't take that as the issue or the concern. So I would make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
Oh, second.
Okay, any more discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are approved, and you will hear from E.
All right, thank you all.
The second item on our action agenda is the request of William Bone to install a greenhouse at 1919 Rivermont Avenue. And once again, if I'm butchering your name, I apologize. So,
Right. I pronounce it Bond, but
Bond,
most people
okay.
say it a different way.
all right. If you will state your name, address, and the nature of your request, please.
Sure. My name is Bill Bond. I'm at 1919 Rivermont Avenue. And basically, we want to put in a greenhouse in the back of the property. It's about 400 feet away from Rivermont. It's actually on Early Street. The property is pretty long. So it's one of these things where they just bring it in with a truck and just set it down. I don't have to build it. It's a structure that's 10 feet by 20 feet. So it's about 200 square feet. So it's a little bit less than what's required for, it's not over 250 square feet, I guess. I think I had some pictures of it in there, but it's, it's a nice looking, it's glass, it's kind of Victorian style. That's basically it.
Okay.
Is this, I live close by to there, I walked by the other night. Is this replacing the structure that's on the corner or going beside it?
It's adjacent to it, yeah. So
Okay.
but it's in that garden area, yeah, if you see that.
Okay.
Any comments, questions?
I don't have any issues, but I make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Great.
You're good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. The third action item is the request of George Harris to install a fence at 2627 Old Forest Road, 2624 and 2700 Confederate Avenue.
Hi, I am Blake Coronis, so I am here to represent Mr. Harris today and meanwhile back on the farm. The property is, as you said, 2627 Old Forest Road. The current fence there just fronts the first part of the property that faces Old Forest Road. And that's just a 2-board wooden fence. And we would love the opportunity to have a fence surrounding the whole property and have that be 3 boards, about 40 inches approximately in height, and the option to paint that either white or black.
I'm curious, just looking at the drawing or picture submitted, are you going to have to take out a lot of trees to do this?
Those have been taken out.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All the way around it?
Yes.
Okay.
They are gone, and there's a new development coming in behind it, I think makes the fence
Bunch of townhomes as well,
necessary.
yes.
Yeah.
Across the street from that front part of
Yeah.
the property, yes, ma'am.
Questions or comments?
I just want to read.
Okay.
This property's been a farm its entire life. Do we
No.
have any, what, no?
No, it's been a restaurant, it's been an
Restaurant,
antique
yeah.
He
store.
worked there.
Way back in,
Originally.
way back in its life,
Okay,
it was,
sure. A plantation.
yeah, a plantation.
Butted up to Jefferson's property.
Right. Yeah, so big. Did it ever have this type of fence there prior? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
There's that one picture of the fences left, and I don't personally know if that was what was always there, but that's what's currently still there. It's the last photo submitted.
Yeah. And that's running right along Old Forest now, right?
I don't know that we have records of what was there. And our aerials only go so far back that I don't know that they would show.
Yeah. And the guidelines don't speak to this type of fence, if I'm remembering.
Right, typically people installing a fence is more of a privacy fence or for a residential home, not so much for this type of use.
To me, this fits into the character of the property.
Yeah.
I would agree, and I think it was, I'm sorry.
Oh, I agree, and I think it's very necessary considering what's going on around that property.
And it's not a big old stockade fence, which could happen, but thank you for not bringing that forward.
So is there a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve as is.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah, a second.
Okay.
Provided it's one of the two colors submitted in
The
the
white or black,
application.
yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Okay, got it.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it was something similar when it was a restaurant. It was just painted white at the time. Same style. though.
Uh-huh. And I don't know there's ever been a fence there in the back, but there's never been 1,000 housing.
Right, the development.
Yeah, so, all right, the next action item is an after-the-fact request of Jennifer Jordan to install a chain link fence to enclose chickens at 2137 Rivermont Avenue. Ms. Jordan, if you would state your name, address, and once again, the nature of your request.
Yes, ma'am. I'm Jennifer Jordan, and this is Abigail Jordan. Our address is 2137 Rivermont Avenue. And again, it's application to have a chicken coop in the back. I think because it's a chain link enclosure, it's not actually to install a chain link, it's panels that are 4 sides for the coop.
Well, I would like to just speak to this initially. My husband and I sometimes go out on a Sunday afternoon to look at the items that have been requested, and we had almost given up trying to find this chain link fence. And finally, on a side street, which I think was Ash Street, Garnet said, "Oh, I think that's it down there." I don't think it's really a fence, it's a cage. I think of a fence as enclosing a piece of property, and this is enclosing chickens. I don't know who could see it, really. It mystifies me.
Right. That's what I was really confused whenever we got the call. I was like, well, we have the proper fence like around our property, and it's in the back, and it's like just in a part of that. So
This is even below grade from the
It
street.
is.
It is.
it is. You
Yeah.
can't see it from Rivermont, like if you're standing in front of the house,
Right.
because it does go down
Yeah.
in the
And,
backyard.
and there are some properties behind you that should be cleaned up. They're in pretty
Yes, ma'am.
sad shape, but
This is true.
anyway.
And I brought Abigail here because these are her chickens, actually. So
Oh.
she wanted to be here today to see what's going on.
How many chickens do you have, Abigail?
4.
4, okay.
They all have names, right? Tell them their names.
There's Becky, Black Beauty, and Henry, and then Pokio.
All right.
We had a chicken Becky.
You do have a chicken.
We did, but we lost them to little predators. They were free ranging.
Oh no.
One by one. One liked to sleep in the holly tree instead of going in the coop, but
Right.
anyway.
Well, our Becky is kind of crazy. She's a Silky, and she has this crazy hair.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, she's very sweet.
So,
Question?
questions or comments?
You're the chicken lady.
You make the
Well,
motion.
It's not about my chicken, love of chickens. It's the guidelines. But I guess, any concerns? Any concerns? or-
No, I don't have any concerns. If it were a real fence, I would be concerned, but it's not. So,
I'll make a motion to approve.
is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. All right. Chicken can stay home.
Thank you.
That's right, avoid the
Keep them away from the
foxes.
boxes.
I know, oh my goodness, there was a fox that got hit on Rivermont the other day.
Oh.
And it made me really nervous because I had no idea there were even any.
Oh, absolutely, everywhere in town.
Yeah, so we keep them locked up, no free range.
That's good. Well, then that's why you have all 4 of yours. Bye.
All right. Your next item is another after-the-fact request of Josh Klein to replace windows. Have you heard from Mr. Klein?
He did not respond to my email, so I would assume he's not coming. But as I said in my email, I think this is a pretty straightforward case. And I think that the applicant was aware of the requirements before he did the work, so.
Yeah.
They are not appropriate in any way. And the sad thing is, most of the windows that were taken out are sitting in the front yard.
Yes, I asked him, so we did correspond a bit back and forth when I found out that the windows had been replaced. And I asked him if he had the original windows still, and if he did, to please not throw them away. And he said he had some of them, but not all, because some of them were rotten beyond repair. But,
There's a big stack of them in the front yard.
yeah.
There was no workers on site when I went by, but, yeah, it's big old aluminum. Yeah, they're not appropriate in any way.
So would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I would move to, let's see, what would that motion be?
To deny his.
To deny the
Yeah, to deny the
application.
backflow application.
Okay.
I would second that.
Okay.
I struggle to see how these are in any way appropriate. And even looking, if I'm reading what was submitted, some of the options he had, there were some styles closer, still perhaps not appropriate, but that had a diamond pattern and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's some decorative diamond pattern going on in existing windows. There's a couple up high. I just have photos.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, the visuals that we have are only from the front, so I'm not sure if the windows on the side and the rear had that same decorative pattern or not, but I know they weren't vinyl, so.
Right.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And that concludes our business unless you have something for us, Eve.
Well, I guess just an update. Commissioner Shipe did resign, as I mentioned in my email. He had continuing conflict with work schedule and commute, so unfortunately he wouldn't be able to make our meetings. So he regretfully resigned. We should be having a new commissioner join us as soon as council is able to appoint a new person. So they should be advertising that soon, and then I think I spoke with Alicia. She said that they would try and discuss it at the next few upcoming meetings, but I think they have a full schedule, so it might be more than 1 or 2 before we get a resolution on that. So in the meantime, it'll be the 6 of you, but as soon as I hear something, you'll hear something.
All right, okay. Well, our meeting is adjourned, and I apologize about my phone. I thought it turned it off.